I mean, I think it's really interesting because the most ideological group are accusing the other group of being ideological, right? I mean, like so when we're talking about like say like human rights, right? Like housing should be a human right. It really that is not an ideological argument. You know, you're not there to and people of color shouldn't be killed by cops and be able to walk away from it. That also is a human rights violation. That isn't ideological. What is ideological, however, is talking about DEI, CRT, like those are ideological constructs, right? So I find it really heartening that you're telling me that people aren't really engaged in Twitter like that. People and people aren't really engaged, especially with television news, because like I think that if television news had actually had its way, including the Chronicle, though, really endorsing Taylor without not much explanation as to why. So on the ground itself,
Singer client, so it made sense to me.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode devoted to Sam Singer. Jesus Christ. But I like the thing I find most interesting because like Kevin and I, we are not on the ground. We're just not. Like, we are in those spaces. We're doing our fights in social media. We're doing our fights in the newspapers. We're doing our fights in like our podcasts. So we spend a lot of time kind of like in the media sphere. We don't get a whole lot of face to face with people. If we're not interviewing you, we're not talking to you. You know what I mean? So I mean, like that's very hopeful. But at the same time, I want to ask on the other side, like, okay, what do you think? Because you've been on the ground floor, even with Carol Fife, and this fight has continued. As a matter of fact, Pirate Wires did a piece right before the election where they were attacking both Latifah Simon and Carol Fife in this thing they called the defund scam or something like that. So what do you think?
Yeah.
Huh? What you said?
The defund movement is looking like a grift.
Yeah, about the article. So what do you think their next plan of attack is going to be? Like because you guys you are infantry. You are our infantry. So what do you think? What do you think their next plan of attack might be?
I'm so glad you're asking me this question because I have an answer, and it's a long answer, but I think it will answer your question. So I think that these radical grassroots Black-led organizations in Oakland, CRC, APTP, Moms for Housing, those kind of groups, they scare the shit out of the political establishment because they consistently had thousands of people in the streets protesting for many years. And then they started raising serious money and winning elections. And the amount of repression and counterinsurgency that I've witnessed as that transition from protest to power has taken place makes it very clear to me that the status quo power structure and definitely the right sees that transition as a very serious threat. And so that first wave of counterinsurgency that we saw was the attempt to replicate the protest movement from the right. So you have these like fake groups like Coalition for a Better Oakland, Neighbors Together, and Safe and Empower Oakland. And they're all of a sudden coming in aggressively holding progressive politicians accountable for conditions they didn't create. Carol Fife had been in office for 2 weeks and they were like, look at all this homelessness in your district. Like, what's wrong with you? And it's like,
oh yeah, Pamela Price getting the recall starting for Pamela Price before she even took office.
Yeah. And like, I've been organizing on the ground in Oakland and around City Hall for 13 years, and I'd never seen any of these people before. So it was like, that's sus just right off the bat. Like, right. I've never seen you before. All of a sudden, it's this ridiculous thing. And I think that's because their advocacy starts from a place of profit. Like, it's the funders that are initiating it. There's a difference between raising money to do something and getting paid to do something, right? And so like CRC and APTP organized for 10 years before they started really raising money or hiring staff or any of that stuff. And when I see the right trying to scandalize their fundraising, like on Carol's campaign, they were putting out these mailers that said, this nonprofit has, their revenue grew by 2,000% the year that Carol Fife got elected. First of all, do you know what 2,000% of $200 is? Like, they had no money. And what else happened in 2020 that might have led to a Black organization with a long history of challenging police brutality, raising more money than they'd ever raised?
Right.
Like, come on, like they think people are stupid. All of a sudden, progressives need to be held accountable and are like grifting off of city resources. The Schaff administration was giving out money to Libby's network of nonprofits left and right. Like Lauren Taylor funneled $8 million to an organization that he sits on the board of when he was on council. And none of that was ever scrutinized. Like they were never tweeting about that. There were no podcast episodes about that. But now they want to scrutinize these organizations that have never even taken money from the city. Like it's a completely false premise. All they do is like community grassroots fundraising, which I also know because I've been involved in that. And it's no money from the city. So they do the fake protest movement, the like neighbors revolution, which was like 6 people hiding behind 24 signs. And then the media covering them like they, you know, like they were as significant as the thousands of people that were in the streets the years prior.
Right.
Through the media and their connections, I think, in law enforcement, which is a nice tool to have in your back pocket, they were able to get the recalls. But that's only half of the contract that they have with their funders. They're supposed to take progressives out and put the moderates in. And they haven't been able to do that. Lauren Armstrong lost. Bowders lost. Lauren Taylor lost. Warren Logan lost. And so I think what they're about to do now is they're going to study what we've done, like what our side of the movement has done. When these organizations aren't protesting, they're providing service. They're like providing relief to people that the government fails to deliver. Like CRC is the epitome of that. They are always out giving out groceries. They've been doing this gas and groceries campaign where they're like filling up people's cars. They bought a garbage truck that they're using to clean up illegal dumping. And people love them for that. Like people really, really, really love them. So what I'm seeing is the right is distancing themselves from those aggressive advocacy groups, particularly those that are run by psychos that are huge liabilities for them politically. And now we're starting to look, you know, for organizations that are providing some kind of service, but they're going to do that service from the doom looper perspective. They're going to be like, look at how the city is failing these communities. And like, we're going to step up and we're going to save it. That's the difference to look for, is like, how are people promoting the service that they're doing? Is it, you know, we love Oakland and we're coming together to solve the problems and we're emphasizing the positive and positively impacting the negative? Or is it a doom loop narrative where it's just like, it's all bad and we're the heroes stepping up?
And that brings me to, so do you think that's kind of part of why Empower Oakland's going after OUSD right now and calling out the school board? Because it also, too, in San Francisco, that was kind of the beginning of those recalls. I mean, you had Chesapeake, but I would say also a kind of bigger factor was the school board recalls that really kind of energized their base.
I think Empower Oakland overshot they overestimated their ability to win elections because they haven't done this and they're not good at it. They have money, but like having money doesn't make you good at politics. And so I think they overshot, and they're like, okay, citywide, like we don't have it. The school board is just, it's fewer people paying attention. It's just a smaller arena to play in. I think it's a smart move on their part. And I'm really hoping that the organizing that the teachers organizations are doing and the parents is going to contend with them, because I think if they start winning somewhere, they're going to build on that.